Why do you think this is the bottom? What is it that makes you believe that actually we've already hit the low point and things get better from here? Because the market certainly traded your stock down fairly aggressively this morning.
Well, certainly if we look at South Deep, which is the one remaining project that we still have in South Africa because the rest of the company is global, we've had a fairly poor year in terms of production. We've had to shut the mine for 4 months due to safety considerations. Thankfully, we've addressed all of those now, and we're projecting off a low base to improve production at South Deep by 15%. And that should all be through to the bottom line. It's highly leveraged to extra production because most of the costs are already in the system. So I think that is the reason we're saying we've hit the low point in that project and we should do much better in 2015.
But when will actually the mine be up to steady state production, right, of 700,000 ounces?
Well, we're reassessing those long-term targets because, as you can imagine, having shut the mine for 4 months, all of the development that we thought we would have had to open up the large parts of the ore body that we'd be mining this year obviously hasn't happened, and it's taking longer. At the same time, we're looking at getting the mine back to basics and making sure that we really understand that we have good operator skills, good maintenance skills behind it, and let's rather get those things right before we expand the operations, because otherwise we run the risk of just increasing the size of the problem instead of fixing the problem off a smaller base. That's why we've decided to go more cautiously going forward. It's a large, long life ore body. I think we've got to get it right and not get it quick to production. Let's get it right first and then we can expand.
Nick, what level are you valuing the reserves? I was talking to Randgold earlier on this week. That company has got it around 1,000, and the sense seems to be that you could even take that number further south. Where do you put it?
Well, this is a South African ore body, so we have to value it in terms of a South African rand price. Now, the current rand price per kilogram is about 465,000 rand a kilogram. We're valuing this at 400,000 rand a kilogram. So that is a discount where we are of around about 15%. So we think that's reasonably conservative. The other thing is, though, even if we use the lower price, it's actually not that sensitive to prices because the bulk of it will get through at a much lower price anyway. So in this particular case, it's not an ore body that's largely sensitive to gold prices.
Nick, I wanted to get your take on labor unions. Does productivity need to be part of the wage negotiations this year?
Well, I think that's one of the targets for the gold industry, is to see if the wage discussions can incorporate a variable component that is linked to productivity and then a base component that is linked to CPI. That's obviously something we have tried in the past. I can see the logic behind it. We want to try and improve the outlook for the industry and reward people for extra efforts. Let's see, it's early days. I think we'll only get into the heart of these negotiations in another 2 or 3 months, and then we'll get a better view by then as to whether or not this is achievable.
You've done some M&A. We've seen that in Australia. North America, a possibility. AngloGold looking at some assets that maybe they want to offload. What's the M&A picture for 2015, Nick?
We'd love to do another deal if we can. The Australian deal we did in 2013 was a great deal. It looks like we'll get our money back in 2 years. That's obviously very hard to replicate, but we are looking around the globe. There are assets that are trading below net asset value that are in production. We're not really interested too much in late stage projects or early stage for that matter. So we're looking for stuff in production that can reduce or equal our current total cost of production. We are in the lower quartile of costs. We'll see. It depends on getting someone who's prepared to sell at a reasonable price. We'll see what happens.
All right, Nick, thank you so much for your time. Nick Holland there, the CEO of Gold Fields, talking to us about strategy and, of course, some of the mines.